Hello, everyone. Oh, jeez. Everyone thinks that I don't get nervous standing up here, but I hate talking in front of people so much. Though my whole life is just that. My name is Cameron, and I'm going to take you back on a journey a little bit. So, grade 9, growing up in elementary school, I was kind of the sports guy. My parents kind of pushed me into as many sports as I could. And then grade 9, I had a crush on a girl who was trying out for improv, and haven't heard of this before, but I thought, you know what, if I show interest in what she likes, she'll show interest in me. So I followed her into the improv auditions. I made the team. I absolutely hated it. She didn't end up liking me. And I remember that grade 9 year after we performed, after I got off stage, I didn't say a word the whole performance. I didn't say a thing, I just stayed on the back line. And I got off stage and I just said, I'm never doing that again. And 8 years later, here I am. In grade 10, a mentor of mine kind of convinced me to come back into it. And then that year we placed second in the Canadian Improv Games, which is a nationwide tournament that happens across the country in all the high schools. And if you win from our region, Saskatchewan, you make it all the way to Ottawa, and we placed second in our region. And that was in grade 10, and I thought that was pretty amazing. So grade 11 came around, I got a little bit better, started talking a little bit more, people laughed at my jokes. I'm sorry if I'm breathing heavily. My heart is racing. Just gonna fix that. So in grade 11, I fell even more in love with it. I started to learn that one of my favorite things, and it still is my favorite thing, is to make people laugh. I truly believe it is a thing that you can do for another person to help take them out of their lives for just a second. Because when you laugh, you forget about all the other things that are bothering you. You forget about the deadlines that are due next week. You forget about the chores that you still haven't done. And for 2 hours a month when we perform, I get to take people out of their daily lives and let them enjoy 2 hours of just laughter with a bunch of people. So in grade 11, I started falling more in love with it. And after the season ended, we didn't want to stop. So what we did was we invited as many people as we could that were from other schools to come join us. And we just did improv together. And a lot of people do not know what that looks like. It is a room full of weird individuals who are just yelling weird phrases at each other, and we enjoyed it. We loved it so much. And then grade 12 came around, and this group that we kind of just formed, we decided that we could do shows together. And how cool would it be as a grade 12 student to produce your own shows? So we started a show called Improv on the Rocks. And to this day, we still think it's a cool name, because we were like 17 at the time, and it's like Scotch on the Rocks, Improv on the Rocks. Ooh, our teachers are gonna hate this. So our first show that we ever did, we got 180 people up to it. And it was crazy. I remember because it was the day before my birthday that we performed, and on my birthday the next day at school, I was vacuuming the theater because I promised my drama coach that I would after the show, and so many people left garbage. But I fell more in love with this, and so now it gets to the point of, here I am today. I co-founded an improv company that now we have over 60 people performing with us. We do shows every Friday, and growing up in high school, I always thought that I'd be the next Colin Mockery, or the next Ryan Stiles. For anyone who knows those names, there was a famous show back in the day called Whose Line Is It Anyways? And it was an improv show. It was the first of its kind, and people just went on and made stuff up and made people laugh, and they made a lot of money off of it. And I thought that I wanted to do that. That was my life choice. That was my career. And I remember telling my parents that, and they said, nope. So I decided against that, and we still did shows on the side. I went to university, and I got an education degree, and I pushed through that, and now I have a job teaching grade 9 English, which is not my forte. But I always thought that I'd always have performing improv on the side. And that was the thing I loved the most. Now cutting back to a couple years ago, after I performed in high school on the high school team, the year I graduated, I came back and coached. And I coached an individual, and at this time I did not know that he was on the spectrum, the autism spectrum. And if I don't say his name, he's going to be extremely pissed off at me. So his name is Maxwell Addison. He's the most warm, loving human being you'll ever know. But growing up in elementary school, growing up on the spectrum, he struggled in school, and he was that student that teachers hated. He would cause fits, he didn't know how to handle his emotions, he would flip desks, his teachers would have to clear out the classrooms. He had the worst elementary career that I've ever heard of. And in grade 9, he joined Improv, and that was the first time I met him. And he is so fucking funny. For anyone who's been at a Be Rude show, he does stand-up, and he did autistic pickup lines, and it landed. It was so funny. But he told me that improv changed his life, and I don't use that term lightly. I don't use it as an over-exaggeration. It truly did, because through improv, he learned how to communicate with others. Through improv, he learned that eye contact is okay. Through improv, he learned that what it's like when he knows that people maybe don't want to talk to him, so he takes a step back. He learned all these social skills through improvisation, and he made more friends. He enjoyed high school, and now he's off in Saskatoon, breaking my heart because he's no longer here, doing what he loves, filmmaking. And he owes it all to improv for teaching him these skills. So a couple years ago, he sat down with his mom, and they approached the Globe Theatre. He told them that there's no program really in Canada that helps teach improv to kids on the spectrum. And he shared his story to the Globe, and he shared that there's really only one other class in Toronto, a second city that they do, and it's only for a couple weeks. And he said, I think there's money in this, and I think there's something magical in this. So Globe wrote a grant, and the grant got denied. And I just learned the other day that when I was talking with the lady who wrote the grant, when she received that email, she sent it right back and said, check again. Because they said it doesn't meet any of the criteria. And she wrote back, check again. They checked it, they apologized, they gave us a bunch of money. And then they approached me, and I remember getting that email from Judy Wenzel at the time, who was the intern theater school director. She was covering a mat leave, and she asked me to come have coffee with her, and I didn't know what it was going to be about. And then she shared this idea of this pilot program that they have grant money for, that they wanted me to create. And if anyone knows improv, the first rule of improv is to always say yes. And that has effed me up my whole life. Countless of times I've said yes to things that I'm not ready for, that I'm not good at, that I just say yes to, because that's what improv has taught me. So I said yes. So for the next 4 months, from May to August, I were to start creating this pilot course. For 12 weeks, we'd spend 2 hours a week together. The class would look like, we partnered with ARC, which is the Autism Resource Center here in Regina, and they would not supply, it's a weird term. They have clients that they work with, adults, and so they gathered a group of clients who they thought would be great for this pilot program, those who would really love this. And I was to collect kind of a group of teen mentors who would help fill the class and help us out. And I had a couple teaching assistants, and we had a support from ARC, a social worker who would help in the class if there's any problems. And over the course of the summer, I built this program, and I call it the final document. It's saved in my Google Drive. And I created a bunch of games, and then October hit, and it was our first day. And I was so nervous, I was so scared, because I was scared of failing. Though in improv, that's what we do all the time. We just fail on stage, and that's why people love it. But now I'm no longer on stage, I'm in my real life. And that's the scariest thing to me. I can stand on stage and I can perform and be fine, but the moment I need to be vulnerable in my real life and be scared of failure, it truly terrifies me. And I remember I got this sheet of paper with all the clients that were going to be taking the class. And I went down, and the last name I recognized on this piece of paper. I recognized it because I grew up with her. I grew up in elementary school with her. And it's still very hard to talk about this because I'm scared of what people will think. But in elementary school, you kind of gravitate to those who fit in the most with you. And this individual had no one. And because of this, she was deemed as the weird girl. And no one wanted to hang out with her. And I was one of those people. And when I saw her name, my heart sunk. Because I knew that in 2 hours, she was going to show up to this class. She was going to recognize me. And she was going to say, this asshole is teaching me improv. And the things that him and his friends used to do to me in elementary school, and now this guy seems like the greatest individual because he's doing this class. I got so scared, I didn't tell anyone. I was so nervous. And about an hour before the class, I broke down into tears in front of the theater school director. And I told her the story, and I said, I'm so scared just to see this person come into this class. Because back then, it was so hard just to get diagnosed on the spectrum, right? And most individuals in elementary, they don't get diagnosed until their later life, until they're young adults, right? So there's so many children and students out there, and luckily now there's more information about it and they get diagnosed early, but they go through their entire elementary school life deemed as the weird kids, the kids that no one wants to hang out with. And 2 o'clock hit. She came through the door, big smile on her face, and the first words she told me were, "Hey Cam, remember when you stuffed me in a freezer?" Now, we learned rather quick that she loves to make up stories. I did not do that. But imagine me so nervous, and the first thing this girl says to me is, "Hey Cam," in front of everyone else, "remember when you stuffed me in that freezer?" And everyone around me is looking at me like, "What?" And I'm confused as hell. But then, after that, she enjoyed the class, and it was great. And I was a little bit relieved. But then another individual walked through that door. Now, a little bit about the spectrum is that, for those who aren't familiar with it, one of the main things they struggle with is just social skills. And that's the thing that we truly work on in this class. Now, so many people, when we speak about improv, they see it as this performance art, where in this class, we use the games of improvisation to teach the skills that we apply to our everyday life. The skills that we use on stage, and those are eye contact, those are communicating, those are acceptance, positivity, empathy. And we picked 5 of those, and the ones that I just named off, and we focused on those for those 12 weeks. So an individual walks in, another man, about 24. This time it was a young adults class, and he walks in with his grandfather. He has a big T-Rex t-shirt, and he doesn't say a word. He walks straight into the class and goes straight to the corner. And I go to talk to him, and I go, "Hey Connor, my name's Cameron, I'm the instructor." And he just looks at me and goes, "Argh." And I go, "Do you want to come join the circle?" And he goes, "Argh." He's just growling at me. And his grandfather goes, "You know what, maybe this isn't for him, we're just gonna head out." And I saw maybe 2 minutes of it, and he walked out. And I was a little bit relieved, because that was the first time I was kind of faced with someone who wasn't wanting to do this. My whole life of teaching improv and performing improv, constantly teaching to people who want to perform and want to do improv, and I've never had someone push against it. And I thought that that was the last I'd ever see of him. And he came back the next week. He would just sit in the corner and he would just growl. One of the other things you need to know about the spectrum is that they call it mind magnets, things that they really enjoy, things that they love. That t-shirt of that T-Rex was his mind magnet. It was the only thing he cared about. It's the only thing he still cares about. He has a YouTube channel which he dedicates to just videos of dinosaurs. He posts 2 videos a day. I've watched about 12 of them. They're all the same. They have heavy metal music behind pictures of the same dinosaur. And he's 24, and this is the thing he loves the most. So one day I sat with him, and I asked him how he was doing, and he growled. And then I asked him what his favorite dinosaur was, and he opened up a little bit. he told me, and I don't remember the name because they're so long, and I just agreed, and I kept talking to him about dinosaurs, and I asked him if he had a YouTube channel, and he said yes. And I already knew that beforehand because that was on his information that we got, and I tricked him. And he talked to me a little bit more, and then he started jumping in a little bit more, and he was still a little bit hesitant. And one of the main things we do in this class, and there's so many words that people hate, and one is fail. That's a big thing in our class. The other one is trick. Everyone hates to be tricked. In my class, I'm the trickster. I trick everyone in the class without them knowing they're learning. So by accepting anything they say and anything they do, we're tricking them that acceptance is cool. By letting them show me the same Harry Potter scene that they have memorized every class for 5 minutes, and I've watched the same scene of the same kid speaking like Voldemort for 5 minutes every class for the 12 weeks. We're teaching them that it's okay to accept other people's ideas. So throughout this whole 12 weeks with Connor, I slowly tricked him into learning what acceptance was. And on the last class that we ever saw of him, we played this game called Debaters, where we'd give 2 topics on either side of the room. It would be cats or dogs, rain or shine. And you'd pick the side you want, you'd discuss with your team points, and you'd come back and you'd debate the topic. Dogs are better because they like to play. And cats are better because they meow. There'd be points like that. And Connor never wanted to play, but he wanted to pick the topics. So he'd pick the topics, and then we'd debate. And at the end, Connor stepped forward, and with confidence, and the first time he ever did in that class, and he said, "Those were excellent points. Now I'm going to tell you why we need both." And everyone still. I'm getting goosebumps just saying that again, because it was a moment of magic. And he told us why we needed both cats and dogs in this world. And that was the last class we ever saw of him. But over those 12 weeks, we tricked him into knowing what acceptance was. So, looking back in my improv career, I always thought that I'd be on stage making people laugh. But now, in my education career, as I'm a teacher and an instructor for improv, I'm looking at ways to show people how powerful improv is. Now, it's not always great, and it's not always easy. I will share some failing moments with everyone. We had another young adult in our class. His name is Casey. Casey has stolen my heart, and he won't ever give it back, because he is the sweetest individual you ever know. But in your mind, you know when you get a thought, you think about it for a little bit, and you throw it away, and you think about something else? Casey's brain works in such a magical way where he can't forget anything. Picture everything you think in a day, and you can't remember half of it. You can't remember what you thought of this morning. Casey remembers everything, and he's so stuck in his head. Casey remembers dates of everyone's birthday, he remembers names, he remembers patterns, and this causes Casey to get stuck and frustrated. One thing that we do with Casey when he gets so stuck in his head, we tell him to shake the ideas out. And this guy is taller than I am. And when he gets so stuck in his head, we go, "Casey, just shake it out." He'll shake his head out for about 20 seconds, and then he'll slowly look back up, and we'll go, "Casey, are you okay?" He goes, "Yes," and he'll continue. And he'll last about 5 minutes before we have to do that again. One of the things we do in our class is that we spend anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour going around a circle and sharing about our weeks. Because one of the main things in the class is that we're trying to build friendships. We're making meaningful connections. So we allow whatever time we need to go around the circle and share about our days. I've never heard a room so silent. We'd go around the room, and every time Casey wouldn't say a word, because he didn't know what to say. He didn't know the order. He didn't have a pattern for it. And he would just get frustrated. He would start hitting his thighs, and we'd tell him to shake it out, and we'd move on. So we never heard about Casey's weeks. We have another individual in our classroom, Tristan. He's kind of our superstar. He loves improv. He's the one that does all the Harry Potter sketches. Every week, when he shares about his week, he goes through Monday through Saturday. Saturday is when our class is on. We go around the circle, and when we get to Casey, we ask, would you like to share? He gets a little discouraged, so we move on. We go to Tristan. Tristan shares about his week, Monday through Saturday. We move to me, and then Casey goes, can I share? And I go, holy shit, yes. And then Casey goes, Monday, I did this. Tuesday, I did this. Wednesday, I did this. And we failed so much with them, trying to figure out the best way to do it. And it wasn't even me finding out the way. It was one of our other clients to just do what he was doing, for Casey to find the pattern and discuss. And every time I know when something's working, 5 minutes, Casey will gallop around the room. And if you've ever seen a 24-year-old man gallop around a room because he's excited, it's the most heartwarming thing you'll ever experience. I'm going to share one more story about a client, and then I'll kind of wrap up of where I find this moving today. This just happened this week, and it's very magical that it did. I truly believe our class that we have is magic. For anyone who's ever experienced magic, like a magic trick, it's pretty exciting, because you don't know the trick. The magic I feel in this class, I know the trick. Everyone knows the trick. We're all in on the trick. And it's the most magical experience you'll ever feel. We have another individual like Casey this year. His name's Alex. He's one of our teens. He's in high school. He doesn't say much. The only things he does say is where he's gone. He'll tell us he's been to Shoppers Drug Mart. He'll tell us he's gone to Lowe's. He'll tell us that he went to go get Sarah's eyebrows done, which is his sister. And he shares the same thing every week. I've struggled so much with Alex, trying to figure out the best way to work with him, because that's the only thing he knows what to say. He won't say anything else. He's very pattern-oriented, just like Casey was. On the last day before Christmas, we had to do, as part of our grant, we have to do surveys with all our clients and see what's working for them. So I sat down with Alex, and I started asking him questions. I would go, what's your favorite activity? And he would tell me, Shoppers Drug Mart. I'd go, okay, move on to the next one. What do you like most about this class? And he would go, I've gone to Lowe's. And I'd go, okay, move on. We got to another question where I said, I really wanted to work on this. I said, Casey, what's a feeling you get during improv? What's one word to describe how you feel? And I was just waiting for him to say Boston pizza or chapters. But he paused, he took a breath, and he went, and I'm going to do my best Alex impression. He went, better. I teared up, and I had a moment, and then I asked him the next question, and he said, Boston pizza. I knew in that moment, he truly felt magic, that things were getting better. One thing I did with him was, and again, going back to creating meaningful connections and friendships in that class, is he's very much in love with the girls in the class. And I needed to figure out a way to connect with him. So we created this simple handshake, which is a slap, a pound, and then we do this. And we do that at the end of every class. And at the end of every class, he has this pattern. He'll say goodbye to the desk person. He'll say goodbye to the TAs. He'll say goodbye to me. We'll do the handshake. He'll leave the door without looking back. He'll wave behind him and go, all right, take care. And his father was sharing with me just 2 days ago, when I saw him last, that he had a busy day in a bunch of appointments, and they struggled to get him out of the doctor's office. And I said, how come? And he goes, he couldn't leave without showing the doctor Cam's handshake. And this is a guy who only says the places he's gone. And here he is, talking to a professional who's gone to like 8 years of school, teaching them the silly handshake, because he can't leave a room without it. Now, I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse, but to me, it's the sweetest thing. So, I stumbled upon all this stuff accidentally. I never thought that my world would be changed by individuals who gallop around a room, who pretend that they're Yu-Gi-Oh characters, or do simple handshakes with me. But there's 2 hours out of every week where I feel like I'm in the safest place ever. And it's no longer a class, it is time to spend with my best friends. I mistakenly gave Tristan my phone number, and now he calls me every day. and we talk, and I drive him to bowling, and I watch him bowl, I drive him to Improv, and I take him to get Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And I've learned so much through all of this, and there's 3 things I want to share. One is patience. With anything, starting a new business, conversing with others, you need patience. I went into that first class with this whole list of activities I wanted to get through. We only got through one. And I learned that we don't need to move fast. And in our lives where everything is so hectic outside, I invite you and I challenge you that if you've already heard someone tell a story, you listen to it again. And you find a new way to be invested in it. And you find a new way to show interest. I've seen Tristan's rendition of the final battle between Voldemort and Harry Potter over 50 times. And each time I burst with excitement and I cheer when he gets to the end of it, even though I'm mouthing the words myself. 2, don't forget to be a kid. I have a tattoo on my bicep, which is of a young boy eating watermelon, as a reminder to myself that I don't want to grow up. In that class, we are all children. We share funny voices, we make funny words, we pretend that we're all Voldemort chasing Harry Potter, just so Tristan can have some excitement. But I challenge you and I invite you, whenever you can, to be a kid again. Sit down and color something. Find that old Lego set and build something. There's nothing more refreshing than after finishing a paper, your notes, your yard work, and coming back and just enjoy being a kid. 3 is accept failure. And that's such a negative word in our society. We're so scared of failing. I was so scared of failing. When I saw that individual's name on that sheet, when I first got that pushback from Connor, I was so scared that I was going to fail. And I could have dropped out at any moment. If I would have dropped out in grade 9 because I was so scared to say something on stage, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be making differences, and that's something I don't like to say out loud because I don't like to compliment myself. But today I will. Yes. Without accepting the failure that we have. Anything, and I'm gonna wrap up right now. Anything that you fail at is a new offer. And in Improv, we talk about offers as things for us to accept. We accept our failure. We accept our. You accept the things you fail at, and you find a new road to take. And you don't forget what has happened because it's going to help you find your new destination. I know through failing with Connor, through failing with Casey, through failing with other individuals, how to work with others who are just like them. I learned from Casey how to work with Alex. I've learned with Tristan how to truly enjoy every Harry Potter movie I ever watch. Accept the failure that you have. Be kind to each other, and lastly, embrace the unusual, because in the unusual is the most beautiful place you'll ever be.